Conrad, that that wasn't a good idea for now, at least. So when does Russia want to restart it exactly? And what needs to happen for that to be safe from your point of view? And then on Iran, you've mentioned regularly that modified code 3.1 that Iran isn't implementing it. Do you have specific concerns about particular places or facilities that are being planned or that construction has begun on? What's the, what do you have your eye on there?
Thank you very much, Francois. So on the issue of the restart of Zaporizhia, I think I wouldn't characterize the discussions or the outcome of the discussions in Kaliningrad as a formal agreement. I think it was a technical conversation, but with a coincidence in the sense that in the present circumstances, a restart, gradual or simultaneous or more than one unit would not be advisable. The reasons being, first, of course, the military operations still ongoing in the region, and secondly, the situation around the on the external power supply. You know that the plant is still counting on only two lines, one 750 kilowatt and a 330 kilowatt, and we are still having oscillations or even blackouts. So I think the conclusion, and I was happy to note that it is only the conclusion of the Russian management, is that in the current circumstances it wouldn't be advisable. The idea, of course, they have is to restart at some point. They are not planning to decommission this nuclear power plant. So this is what prompts the need to have a discussion about that. And this relates to another part of your question when you say what needs to happen. Well, in terms of what needs to happen, well, the two things I mentioned first, I mean, there shouldn't be any bombing or any activity of this type. Then there should be a more stable assurance of external power supply. This requires repairs, important repairs on existing lines, which at the moment, and because of the military activity, are very difficult to envisage. And this also would require a number of safety assessments. This huge plant in mostly cold shutdown will soon be almost 2 years, requires normally, as it would happen with any NPP, requires important safety assessments. And we mentioned to the Russian management our disposition to, in case they would accept, to participate in this assessment. So this conversation is still pretty preliminary. My objective was to make sure that we are on the same wavelength in terms of the restart, because we had heard different things from different people, including in Russia. This is what prompted the discussion. It's not that we were, imagining scenarios. This had been said, and then, of course, we got confirmation that there is no intention to decommission. On the contrary, Russia has been investing in the plant, have been reinforcing, especially some safety and security, nuclear security aspects and areas of the plant. So this is on ZNPP. On modified 3.1, we don't have any idea or information about an imminent announcement, but we know that Iran is considering a number of activities which are not being, and you must remember that in the context of the law passed in 2021, there are a number of mandated activities which would require or that would imply construction of new facilities, installing new cascades, having different things, which in some cases would require, in our opinion, I mean, in the legal position that it's not more, it's more than an opinion. We are absolutely convinced that 3.1 cannot be unilaterally modified as they have, and they should be informing us of that. But we will cross that bridge when we get to it.
Hi, DG Grossi.
Hi.
Jonathan Tyrone, Bloomberg. I have two
Jonathan.
questions. One, just a brief clarification on your statement today. You mentioned that you subsequently spoke with Acting Minister Khani. Could you give us a date of when that conversation took place? Was it after the May 20th interaction in Tehran?
Oh, yes. It was on Friday.
It was on Friday. And can you give us a more context about what you spoke with? Did you?
Well, I thank you very much. Yes, I think it was logical that after, of course, the accident and having waited for a prudent period in terms of mourning, that we would reestablish some contact, albeit by telephone. So the conversation was about as you may remember, when this episode, when the accident took place, I was sending a technical team to Tehran to start discussions about the proposals I discussed on May 6th, I think it was, in Tehran and in Isfahan. So at that time, we had agreed that I would send a technical team to have a specifically technical discussion about these measures. And of course, they arrived coinciding with the sad announcement of the demise of the president and the foreign minister. Of course, at that point, they had to pack their bags again and return. So I wanted to reconnect, with him now in his capacity as acting foreign minister, to reiterate, as I mentioned in my speech, my desire to continue working. And in a certain sense, if you want to confirm that we were always on the same assumption that we would be trying to move forward. Of course, Iran has not agreed to any of the things that I proposed. We still need to have the technical conversation, but I wanted to be clear on this. And I got confirmation on that. Of course, there are a number of external factors that may be influencing that, but the conversation was a constructive one.
Okay. And then just very briefly, last month, the U.S. banned Russian uranium.
Yeah.
There's conditions for waivers until 2028. How do you see the global nuclear fuel market developing? Is there a risk of a split, a bifurcation that essentially asks newcomer nations to choose whether they're on one side or another? And just curious to see how you see that fuel market shaping up and how that challenges your job as the promoter of peaceful atoms.
It's a very important point for the two reasons that you mentioned. In the first place, there is law in the United States with a number of provisions. One has to also recognize the fact that this law has waivers, an embedded system of waivers, which are there to ensure that in real terms, those who are importing uranium or fuel from Russia can continue to do so. At the moment, the estimation is that roughly 25% of what the United States is consuming and using comes from the Russian Federation. And the same applies to many countries in Europe. So changes in the market will occur, but it will not be an overnight thing. It will take a few years, in fact, if this goes in this direction, and if in between today and, for example, in the case of the law in the United States, the waivers are applicable until 28, I believe, 2028. So it's some time, and not perhaps a very long time, but some time. So we will see. And it is also predicated on a number of investments that should be taking place. We'll see if this happens. Apart from the political framework that may or may not change. It could get worse, or it could perhaps get better. So The issue of the different suppliers is happening already, because as you know, when it comes to new build, you have Turkey, you have Egypt, you have Bangladesh, you have countries that are going to be clients for Russian product. And this may continue to apply. You will have, of course, PACs in Hungary that will continue in this area. And then we have the VVR reactor fleet in Eastern Europe in particular, on which there are some contracts with Westinghouse, but not covering the whole fleet. So I believe, yes, a potential gradual modification in the market conditions, but not an overnight thing. In terms of making our work more difficult, or I don't think so. I think we are, very familiar with fuel, with all types of fuel. We have experts that are very conversant with the two types. So I don't see problems. There could be maybe some aspects related to safety in some cases. As you know, there have been some issues here and there, adaptation of technology. But this we are following on if you want, on a different track. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, this is Stephanie Lichtenstein, reporting for the Associated Press. I was wondering if you could help us understand a bit more.
Yeah.
What are those concrete proposals that you suggested to Iran while you were visiting them in May? Mm-hmm. You referred to those proposals in your statement. You referred to them again today. I was wondering if you could maybe give us some more concrete information on this. And sorry, a second question, because I think I did not fully understand what you said on your meetings in Kaliningrad. Did I understand correctly? Russia now agrees that the plant should remain in a cold shutdown, or they continue to want to?
Yeah. Okay, I will try to clarify
switch
both
it on,
things.
So to say, switch on the reactors. Sorry.
No, of course. I will try to clarify those things. Number one, on the concrete proposals, what I can tell, I will refer to this in general, because since this is something we are going to be hopefully negotiating, it would not be appropriate for me to go into too much detail. But I can indicate that this would be on the line of having more access, more visibility on the facilities in Iran, having what we have called in this joint statement that we signed in March 2023, additional monitoring and verification capacities. Put in simple English, have more cameras, have more online systems, have perhaps more frequency of visits, have visits to places that we are not visiting at the moment, and that we were barred from visiting by virtue of the termination or of the implementation of the JCPOA. It's a gradual, I have been trying, and this started in 2021, to work with Iran to try to provide the access that is needed, so that we will be in a point where it will be very, very difficult for the agency to say where Iran is on a number of areas. This is predicated on the expectation that at some point there will be a return to diplomacy, a return to a more general framework. Call it JCPOA version 2 or 3 or any other name. For that to happen, the agency will have to be able to say what the basis is. And what I have been explaining to my Iranian counterparts is that if I am not able, I won't. Sounds a bit tautological, but I will not sign on any report saying that Iran has a number of centrifuges or parts for centrifuges if I cannot see it? So conditions have changed enormously since 2015, where we knew exactly the agency. I wasn't the Director General, but the agency knew exactly what Iran was having, how many centrifuges of what type, what was the amount of nuclear material. All of that is a matter of now, in some areas, guessing. So this is the idea. And for this, my safeguards experts are trying to devise, ways to see. So this is one. In Kaliningrad, I wouldn't put it as Russia wanting to start and me trying to stop them from doing that. That would be unfair and not correct. What it is clear is that there were informations indicating that this was the intention. So immediately I reacted to those things immediately. So I said, well, okay, what is the idea here? Is there a time frame? So I think that the technical conversations allowed us to understand that they do have the intention of using this plant, but they do recognize, let's say we coincide or we have the same view that at the moment this would be not practical and perhaps even dangerous. So that was the idea and the discussions in Kaliningrad. Yes, sir.
Hello, Dr. Grossi.
Hello.
This is Ahmad Samadi from Iran International TV.
Yes.
I have two questions.
Yes.
The first question is, Iranian authorities criticize the agency for focusing solely on verifying the peacefulness of Iran's nuclear program. They ask, apart from Iran, is it possible for the IAEA to guarantee the peacefulness of the nuclear program of the other IAEA members? And the second is, it seems likely that the E3 will present a resolution on the board against Iran's nuclear program. How do you view this potential action and the Iranian authorities' threat to countermeasures?
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, on the first criticism, it's a traditional criticism which is based, I think, on the assumption that we choose where we inspect, as if I wanted to inspect one country and not another country because I like that country. That is completely incorrect. We inspect all our member states in accordance with their own legal status. So when you are a member or a contracting party to the NPT, then our type of inspection is of a certain nature, like in Iran, in my own country, Argentina, or I don't know, in Sweden. So this is NPT countries. And there are countries that are not party to the NPT. Israel, which you have in mind, I'm sure, India, Pakistan, and we don't know what to say about the DPRK, but in practical terms, they are acting as a non-party to the NPT. And in these cases, well, of course, there is capacity to verify, although in a more limited way, specifically on certain facilities. So if we want everybody to be in the NPT, let it be no doubt about it. So if given the legal mandate, we can inspect everybody. Regarding the resolution, this is it's something we have been hearing, and I think it's something that you should ask countries. I mean, for me, I have to adapt to what the board decides. If the board considers the resolution and it passes it, well, I will have to adjust my, activity to what happens there. People often ask me, "Do you like a resolution? You don't like?" I have to be perfectly neutral in this regard. You may understand that.
Thank you, Turkish News Agency, Ashkun.
Hello.
In your opening remark, you share your concern in Iran. The public made statements, the technical capacity to produce the nuclear weapons. To the EIA, how far the Iran, or is Iran able to produce a nuclear weapon? What do you think about it?
Well, this is what I've been saying. If there are people saying that, perhaps they should tell me more. So we know the capacities they have. They have the capacity, and this is proven, to produce the nuclear material. And there were efforts, as the agency certified back in 2015, there were efforts in the context of a plan to go in that direction. But ever since, and I have been saying that, we don't have any information, verifiable information, that Iran has a nuclear weapon program. It has a number of technologies, and it's enriching uranium at a very high level, etc., etc. So this is why I have expressed concern when a country starts saying, I have everything I need in case I decide to. So I don't think this is appropriate, and it's something I discussed in Tehran.
Question over there. Sama bin Javed, Al Jazeera English. Mr. D, we've seen some of the report that you've presented to the board, and in addition to concern, you've actually expressed regret that Iran's yet to reverse the decision to withdraw the designation for several experienced IAEA inspectors. And now, on top of that, you will have this expected resolution by the E3, which we've seen some parts of, essentially urging the IAEA to do more and come up with a further report. Given this contradiction on how the agency is viewed in Tehran, your issues that remain, and another resolution on top of that, how likely is it that Iran is going to comply, and what will be the magic bullet to pressure them essentially to come towards more compliance?
Well, there are a number of speculations in your question. What if a resolution comes? I don't know what that resolution may have as part of its text. So that would depend. I don't believe in pressure. I believe in persuasion. I have to convince Iran that this is the best course of action. As I said, if Iran and the Iranian authorities have always told me, we want to be treated as a normal country, all right? And I'm telling them that is possible. You have to work with us. We have to give, because the confidence is not there. This is obvious. Otherwise, we will not be discussing this for the past 20 years. And this is said with the utmost respect. I'm not offending anybody. The confidence is not there. So we have to create this confidence. The confidence comes when the agency can certify certain things. And I'm ready to do that in respect of their sovereignty, in respect of the reasonable things. But we need to do much, much more. This is very clear. And it was part of the discussions I had in Iran, and also the discussion I have with Foreign Minister Bagheri. We need to work, we need to sit down, and we need to provide the transparency that is needed. If at the end of this week the scenario is more challenging, well, that will not deter me from continuing. We will never give up. We will continue trying.
Thank you very much. It's Kasra Naji from the BBC Persian television. I have three questions very quickly. One is that you, in your recent reports, you say that you're not sure whether Iran's declarations are complete or accurate. You're saying that you cannot say that Iran's activities are exclusively peaceful, and you express deep concern. How concerned is deep concern, given what you've just said in your report? Second question about the resolution. There are reports that this resolution is going to be tabled and possibly passed. And given your concerns, do you support that kind of action by the Board of Governors? And thirdly and lastly, in Iran, they're talking about possibility of changing the nuclear doctrine, given the problems with Israel and so on and so forth. How concerning is that?
Yeah, it's it's a complex picture that you're painting, and it's not incorrect. On the one hand, when we say that we have gaps which prevent us from having, I would say, a complete and clear view of the completeness and the correctness of Iran's declarations, this is what is prompting us to seek more access, more information, more verification, without which that is not possible at the moment. And this is why we are trying to have initiatives, present ideas, concrete technical ideas, to try to mitigate, at least in the first instance, these lagoons that we have in the information. So when you say how much is much, I mean, I'm concerned. This is a real thing. This is why people all over the world are looking at this. This is why it's at the top of the international agenda for more than 2 decades. In terms of the resolution, as I said again, this is a matter for member states. It's a matter for countries to support or not to support, and I have to work. What I need is the board. Sorry. First of all, I don't know what
is it constructive?
What a resolution would say or not say. I think that the Director General has to be working because passing a resolution is an expression of a political position. Then I have to go and work in Iran. And this is why I need to be extremely circumspect when I talk about these things. Because I'm saying a lot of things. I'm not, mincing my words. We have concerns. We think it's unacceptable to talk about nuclear weapons, as some people do in Iran. We are saying that in these conditions, we have a knowledge gap that is making it very difficult to go back to diplomacy. What else do you want me to say? We are saying everything that needs to be known by the international community. And then let countries react. This is why the board has been created, so that countries can express their will and how they react in front of a problem. So we will have to continue our work. This is why, for me, it was very important to talk to the foreign minister, because, of course, I have in mind that there could be a scenario that could be more complex, maybe not. But these are things that I have to bear in mind. So mine is a real work. It's not a work of making statements only. We make statements. It's a work of verification. So if a resolution is passed, the next day we have to go and verify and try to get the most cooperation from Iran, without which things will be complicated. And I think I addressed this point, which was also mentioned by other colleagues today, about the statements and the doctrine. Importantly, when I was in Iran and discussing with the late foreign minister, he confirmed that Iran is within the NPT and that there are no plans to do anything different. But of course, there are statements, and they will have an election. So everything is maybe changing, and we are going to be attentive and looking and following day by day what is happening there.
I'm Albert of TPA, German Press Agency.
Yeah.
Mr. Director General, I have a question about the interview that you gave to the Standard recently. I'm sort of retranslating into English. You said that the veil of uncertainty surrounding the Iranian nuclear program can definitely develop into something serious if it is not addressed.
Yes.
Could you spell out what you mean by something serious?
Something serious is the fact that many countries have said that if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, they would do the same. I think we have heard it very clearly from many countries. So I think we need to avoid an aggravation of the erosion of the non-proliferation regime. This is very important. And I think my Iranian counterparts know it. I think adding nuclear weapons to the cauldron of the Middle East is a very bad idea. We have to avoid this. We have to work with Iran to try to prevent this. And this is my effort at the moment. This is what I told the colleagues from the Standard.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Rafael. I'm very pleased to see you again. My name is Yusuf Al-Shamari. I'm a senior research fellow at Imperial College, and I'm doing here coverage for the Saudi News TV.
Thank you.
In your statement today to the board, you mentioned that there is an upcoming conference on the use of SMRs and their importance for member states.
Yeah.
So my question is, when do you see the SMRs rolling out? I think President Macron said by 2030. But from the perspective of the IAEA, when do you see them coming to the markets, and what could their share be from the global nuclear energy mix? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, it is clear, and this is why we are having all these technical meetings and conferences, that SMRs are coming. It's no longer, I'm in this business for 40 years almost, and I've been, hearing about SMRs for most of that time. So it's not something that started now. But now we see them being developed, we see them being built, we see a lot of investment being put into them. We see countries signing agreements about them and companies preparing themselves for their construction. My impression is that we will start seeing, first of all, there are arguably SMRs already in operation in Russia, in China. One could say that they are there, but if you are thinking about something more massive, and especially in the Western market, I would say within the next 5 years, for sure.
So before Al Jazeera Arabic,
yes.
Mr. Grossi, there is a question about the future cooperation between IAEA and Tehran. We actually, your introduction today in the report, you mentioned that it has been 3 years since Iran stopped provisionally applying to additional protocol. And my question again, if we expect any resolution condemn Iran, do you think your agency will continue working with Iran, especially when Mr. Shamkhani, Ali Shamkhani, ex-president of Iranian Council, National Security Council, said he will ready to cut any relation with IAEA if there is a resolution against Iran. How do you comment on that?
Well, as I said, I spoke with the foreign minister a couple of days ago, and I don't have a doubt that Iran will continue working with the IAEA. It's a legal obligation, let me say. Of course, Iran, as any sovereign state, can decide any time to stop that cooperation or anything that they may wish, but there is a legal obligation. They are a member state, they are a contracting party to the NPT, they have a comprehensive safeguards agreement, and these are obligations. These are not voluntary gestures. Of what we are discussing precisely is these additional measures, which would be in nature voluntary, to see whether they could accept some of them to allow me to do the job I need to do, as I was trying to explain earlier in the press conference. All right. So I think our work will certainly continue. External circumstances may change. I don't know. It will depend on many different factors that may unfold here in Vienna and elsewhere in the course of the week. Maybe we can continue the conversation after we know if there is a resolution, no resolution, or other discussions that may be taking place.
Hello, DG.
Hello.
Setsuko Inaki from Nippon Television. I just want to go back to the Friday telephone conversation you had with Akane. It sounds like you tried at the last ditch effort to mitigate this tension, which would be coming at the board, namely the resolution. And it seems like in your earlier statement, you said that nothing was agreed. Does that mean that your effort to sort of rebound the discussion which is not really going anywhere, or do you have any more concrete indication that Iran is sort of inviting you back, your team?
No, I would say let's recap a little bit what happened. I went to Tehran. I had the discussions. We agreed to start looking into some practical verification measures. My team went, and unfortunately, they had this tragic accident. All right. And so after this, a number of decisions were taken. First, there was a mourning period. Then they are having a transitional government, and they are going to have elections on June 28. So in a certain sense, this parenthesis is not part of any delaying tactic. I would say that this time it is a logical consequence of what happened. So now we are continuing the work, since there is a transitional government, with them. And after the elections, I will have to sit down with the new authorities. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.